Sound, sound, sound. So, how many of you guys can read lips? How many of you guys caught that? Not many? All right. So, good morning. My name is Jason Meyer. Welcome to Morning Jumpstart, feedback for students. This morning, we're going to start with a portrait by Peggy. We're going to go to the landscape from Claudia. Then we've got 3 still lives lined up, starting with Ellie, Shakti, and we're going to finish this show up with Sue this morning. I was just saying just out of reach is my little timer there. So we're going to see how I can do intuitively on that. See if we can't keep this close to an hour. So with so much to do, why don't we get started? We got the sound fixed. We got Cindy handling everything, plus a few things. All right, Tom made it. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. So let's see if we can call forth the iPad. There we go. Never too early for a little do-si-do. Is it? Is it? I don't think so. Don't think so. So Peggy, first off, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Great job. Okay, very impressed. I mean, this is just light years from where you were. So fantastic. So we'll get into a couple of things that I think will really help this. But if you guys don't mind, let's take just a second to talk about next month's classes. Because next month's classes, starting in March, will start on Monday. And we're going to work from a couple of portraits. You could choose one, do both, but really talk about the structure and form. Okay, so when we talk about structure and form, what are we talking about? Well, if we look at, there's the center. She's got a beautiful tilt, right? Lined up, going diagonally across. So all this is feeling good, right? And then we're not sure what to do is because there's a connection here. There's a connection between the volume of the head and the neck. Okay, and sometimes it can be tricky because it can look all kinds of funky, but if the volume is going this way, did you see how much that changed it? So there's the difference. So in other words, this and this are not saying the same thing. And that can seem trivial for such a small, but that small part is saying, look, this is what this entire head is sitting on. Right? So if we take that cylinder and realize it's going to come from a little further back, we're going to twist it, give it a curve, right? And then let that go there, and then boom. So what have we done right there too? Well, we've got a stretch on one side and a pinch on the other side. Do you guys see that? So all of this starts back with these very simple forms, and then we've got to know this near shoulder, which is very nice on here, but does that line up with the back shoulder? Right, so if we look like that, that shoulder can drop off, but now we understand it's got to come out like that. Okay, so this is a fantastic job, but in order to finish strong, these big simple forms right? We should be able to read the pose. Read the pose. Right? Before we ever see a nose, before we ever see eyes. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that next month in our class. So all of you guys that have been portrait fans, tune in for that. We'll have a whole month of that. And those of you who aren't portrait fans, you need this anyway. Because guess what? This is the same way you light a tree in a landscape, or a mountain in a landscape, or a building in a landscape. Or if you paint still lifes, guess what? You got vases. Oh, you do well, guess what flowers are based on? The fundamental forms. Okay, and the hard thing about art is always the connections. That's where the master shines and the student falters. And the idea about the connections is, if they're too apparent and jerky, they don't become connections, they become things in themselves. And so these connections need to be felt, right? Rather than spelt out like an instruction manual. Okay? All right, so there's enough of that. Back to Peggy. Peggy, again, wow, fantastic. Kudos. That's all I have to say about this. Now, I'm not going to say kudos and send you on your way. I'll let you know a couple of things I think that could really make a difference here. But again, we need to celebrate when we have wins. And Peggy, this is a huge win as far as I'm concerned. Because again, light years, you've come light years. Fantastic. I hear music, but not Jason, huh? Wow. That may be on your side, Claudia, I'm not sure. Yeah, right? This is fantastic. And that's the other thing about this, Peggy, is you've really caught something about your essence, I think. I think you really caught something about your essence. Okay. All right. So back on. I hope I'm better than the music you were hearing. Hope you better. Yeah, beautiful. So Peggy, look at this. I'm just not blowing smoke. I'm not blowing smoke. Beautiful. Okay? So again, but it's always good to celebrate. But even then, you know, what would make this better? What would be next? All right, so I want to go two things that I think would make the biggest improvement here, Peggy. And let me talk about them first, and then I'll try to illustrate them quickly. So we've got the light coming in from here, from up top. Okay, so we're going to have shadow, right? And that's going to fall over into shadow a little bit. We're going to wrap this over. So when this wraps over, we're going to have a soft edge on this side, and let that, see how that's going to wrap around like a ball? Again, a basic form there. And then let that cast shadow come over. And then this cast shadow, oof, if we make that a little harder, you know, it can get softer down here. But that's really going to give us a sense of light. This is all turning over, so we'll be in shadow. You'll catch a little bit. And then this is shadow as well. We want a soft edge on this side as we turn under. And we got a little bit light down here. It's a little tricky when you're trying to gray those things off. It's tricky. It's still reading overall, and again, these are subtle things, but they'll make a big difference. Soft edge here. And let's make sure we've got a soft edge here. Then the shadow, let's make sure we continue it into the hair. For one thing, that hair will cast a shadow onto the skin. So we'll have a skin shadow, which is going to give us another hard edge. Again, we don't have to put it on like a helmet, but we do want some hard edges there. And then let's get this. I can see you went darker, but let's get this darker, right, even than the background. Okay, a couple of things. And the other thing is, like I was saying with the neck earlier, right there, let that neck come a little bit out. And we don't want it doing that. So what we want to make sure to do is we feel the jaw, and then behind that, just give it a slight curve. Right? Even here can have a slight curve before it's interrupted by the, is it the trapezius? Am I remembering my muscles right? And then wrap that over. And then back here, just make sure we feel, right? Because if this shoulder is like this, then that shoulder's got to come down too. Okay, should we see that quickly? Should we see that? I think that would be educational for everybody, or for some of us. Let's see, and I do like this little bit of warmth we have here a bit better. Okay, so I'm going to just cover this. Giving a super hard edge right there. Hard edge. Okay, let's go down and get some shadow from the hair. Okay, so it's shadow from the hair onto the skin. Okay, and see what that does too is it kind of highlights that light of the face, doesn't it? By having that dark around it, it exasperates that. Exasperates it in a good way. So we want to make sure to get under the nose as a ball. Right? There's some roundness there. The nose is kind of, it's a compound shape, though, so there's a few things going on. And then let's show that shadow passing over. And then make sure, let's see, how are we looking here? We're almost straight on, but let's get, I don't know, do you want to smile, Peggy? If you want to smile, go up just a little bit. There, and then get a cast shadow again on this side. That'll go over. The cast shadow will go like that. This is a form shadow, so that's going to be soft under there. Let's take our neck out a little bit. And again, that neck may be a little bit too wide right now. And then a hard edge there, again, to light things up. And then also this would cast a shadow, I'm not going to change the color, but onto this shoulder as well. Okay, when you start, it almost feels too dark, but then as you get it into a whole piece, it feels a little bit better. And then we have to make sure that, white's tricky. White is tricky. Or light. but we've got to still make sure that it's dark enough. Okay, and then that background's in between. And what if we made that background just slightly darker? Just slightly. Again, I don't expect you to go and do all of this, but again, just to see these things over and over again, I think can just be so helpful. All right, so you're there. And let's go here. So I think I'm going to leave this. And then again, to kind of make this painting portray, right, the total awesomeness that you are, right? When you walk out on that stage, Peggy, when you walk out on that stage, you know, shush the choir. Shush those backup singers. Your son's a fantastic musician, but hey, buddy. Hey, sonny boy. I need you to be quiet a minute. I got something to say. This is my show now. This is my show. Oops, got a little carried away here. Oh, this is too fun. This is too fun. And then, like always, that can be used. And what's going on that hair too before it turns under? There'll be some shadow on some of the hair. Anyway, we could go on and on. We got you a little helmet like right now, but fantastic. You know, unless something really bothers you, I say frame it and hang it, right? Hang it. Frame it and hang it. Or maybe do prints of it. Send it to all the grandkids and say, call me. Call me. All right, fantastic. Good job, Peggy. Okay. Again, seeing what does the main thing that I did here was I played with the big values of the shadow value, the background value, right? I didn't really touch anything else. I just shifted those big value shapes. So I hope you guys are getting a sense of how important those things are. All right, so let's go on. Good job, Peggy. Good job, good job. Yeah, and that's at the end, with that lighter background, those eyes can really come forward too. Yeah. Your beautiful eyes, Peggy. Don't you be hiding those things. Don't you be hiding those things. Okay, thanks, Peggy. Let's see, let's talk about Claudia for a little while. Oof, I've been waiting for this forever. Claudia. All right, now it's my time to be sassy. My turn to be sassy, Claudia. Yeah, to see those big value shifts. You know, I really wish I could have seen that as easy as we can show it today when I was in school. Because if you can see the importance of those, it makes such a difference. It makes such a difference. Claudia, yeah. Do we see what's happening here? We're getting back right to those silhouettes. Right to those silhouettes. And like this would be one way we could paint it, right? But this is a little dark and intense. A little dark and intense. And if I know Claudia, that may not have been her inclination. But let's see again how with some value shifts in here, things can change. things can change. All right, Claudia, look, yummy, yummy. Here it comes. Here it comes. These are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So one of our big goals is in the online school, as we get it built out, is to somehow have a gallery of student work. And I don't know if we'll be able to get everybody every month on there or how it's going to work, but I think we need kind of a changing monthly showcase. If it doesn't overload Cindy. Sometimes that can be a lot very time consuming. But we need to get a few of these up here to share them. So great. Okay, well, should I put the workerman's hat on? Should we diagnose this? So there are a couple of things happening here, and let's talk about it. But I want to see if I can get you guys to see these things. So let me ask you some questions, and let's have you actively participate. Now, if you know the gospel according to Jason, right? What's in the beginning? Well, in the gospel according to Jason, in the beginning, there were 4 values. A number 1, a number 2, a number 3, and a number 4. And it was said, go forth and make those values beautiful. So, let's make sure that we haven't lost any of our children before we start out on our journey, shall we? Do we see a number 4 value? Well, heck yeah, we do. How about a number 3 value? You get a yes from me on that. Do you see a number 2 light? Oh boy, howdy do I. And it's spotlighted, and it's housed, and it is beautiful. But I don't quite see any of the top end. Right? If we were to turn this into black and white, those white clouds would probably be the same value, possibly slightly darker than our number 2 value. Well, okay. Well, let's see if this Jason and his Gospels know anything. So let's not even go to white. Let's just go to 80% here, because we got something really moody happening. And then let's not blow the mood with a spotlight. Right? We're getting all nice and romantic and got the lights turned down. Somebody's going to come in with a searchlight from a helicopter. Oof, oof, oof. Don't do that. Don't do that. Well deserved, Claudia. Well deserved. Yeah, your paintings too are starting to get such a different quality. I know they're not quite where you want them yet, but boy, I've been seeing it happen. So to kind of balance, because it is kind of so dark and heavy, what if, again, we were able to go just a bit of white, doesn't have to be everywhere. Right, and then you want to make sure too on these clouds that the shadows. It's a little bit much, Jason. That was a little bit much, a little heavy-handed, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Oh, come on, we all make mistakes. But now with the light and shadow, this cloud will have substance. Can you see that? And I don't think you want it this bright and sunny, because that's not what or maybe you do. I don't know. But if we still need that high end, even if we don't want it bright and sunny. So okay, I'm very emotional, but What can I do to affect that bright sunniness? You're just totally harshing my mellow. What's going on here? Well, what if we just really soften the edge between the light and the shadow? And we gave maybe showed less of that amount of light. And when we did show it, maybe it was softer edges in most places. So again, the only thing I'm doing here is softening edges, basically. Dragging some of this paint into each other and making it softer and softer and softer. So if this is physical paint on my canvas, I'm just pulling it around more and more and more, and it gets thinner and it's showing what's underneath it. You see as that ties in and goes away? And even over here on the shadow side, what if we just knock it down a little bit and make those edges not quite so hard? Right, did you see how much that quieted that down? Let's see. These bright lines down here aren't helping anything. These bright lines down here aren't helping anything. So if these are clouds back there, then that white is going to be what? Well, a lot less than this white. Right? So what you're seeing back there, I haven't really made clouds of it, but underneath the bottom of this cloud, there are kind of some white clouds in the background. Okay, so could have used that timer, huh? But anywho, so you might consider that. Again, I think I've got too big of a big, happy, shiny cloud. You may have a little bit less if you want to keep it this moody. Another thing I would point out is, that's some dark shadow, and then this is really far back. I know it's far back because of the size and where it starts. This is closer, but then these trees, you see where I'm going with this? You're going to have a hard time selling this value here in front of us with something that's this close, and selling this darker value on something this far away. Okay, now I know what we're doing. We're wanting to spotlight this, but this doesn't read now as picture plane, as this bunch of trees is in front of that bunch of trees. Okay, so as you go forward, and I know you're just kind of getting started going, but think about that as you line that up. Right? And so how would you make this darker but not as much focus? Well, it could be darker, but then it's against things of a value that are closer to us. Right? So it's a number 4, but it's around a bunch of number 3s. Where this number 4 isn't quite as dark, but it's against a number 2, and the edges and the shapes can be a little more dynamic. So that'll be enough to make that more. Again, that's a little high level stuff, but this is Claudia, so I think she can handle it. So I hope that helps kind of push this forward, Claudia. Drive-in Jason. Oh, I misread that. I thought it said Drive-in Jason. Like, I'm the entertainment. Anyway, dive in, Jason. All right. You did great, Claudia. Really great. But again, some of those little things I think could bring this up. I'm going to challenge you to, unless you just don't want to do it, right? I want to challenge you to keep this mood as you push this forward. Can you get some of that lighter clouds in there without them being so sunny and happy? Right? You could think Albert Bierstadt, he did that. You know, now this isn't Bierstadt landscape here or territory, but still. Still. Yeah, it has a captivating, intriguing and feel. I think so too. So see if you can hold on to that. All right, good job, my friend. Good job. Are we going to see it before? With and sans cloud. So you see where I'm, and what that happens. Let me say one more thing because this is just so important. When a painting's like this, when you're just kind of going to one area and you're held there, it is very intense, right? And some people can be for dark and gloomy, but there's an intensity to it, right? And if you want that, this is exactly how you compose. But if it's just feeling a little too, like, man, people can hardly sit there. They're uncomfortable. The intensity is too much. Well, then we'll go to these white clouds, and then by spreading this out, making it bigger, it loses a little bit of intensity. Okay? And that's exactly why we don't want people looking at every square inch of our canvas, because that's about as least intense as you can get. And so the thing is just going to be meh. Right? So it needs a certain level of intensity, but as I said before, it's always about the measure. Always about the measure. Great job. Great job. Okay, let's see. What button on what screen do I press? Let's try this one. Okay, we're going to start here with Ellie. Let me get a little sip of tea. We'll give you guys, your guys' ears a chance to catch up a little bit. You're very welcome, Claudia. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for all your work. It's so wonderful to start seeing things pay off. I'm like a kid in a candy store when I see that. It's just so exciting. Good job. All right, Miss Ellie. Now, I know Ellie, I got one of those emails with, here's the painting 7 times. I can't get a good picture. I get it. It's not easy. And I think another thing that was giving you a hard time, Ellie, is it looks like certain things are kind of wet or oiled out, and some things have started to dry up, and then that throws the values off and everything as well. So don't worry about that, but for everybody else, just if you don't know how hard it is to take a picture of a painting, well, try it a few times. All right, so excellent. Lovely growing quality of your paint. Yeah, right, she's got that early on. So Ellie's in class. She's actually got like a real college class she's at. So she'll be here later. Thanks, Shakti, for giving that. So I'm going to talk to you like you're here anyway, though, Ellie. So just because you're here doesn't mean you get off. So what do we have going on here? Now, again, when she oils this out, or when you oil this out, meaning get it all wet before you work, some of the things that I say may happen. For instance, I want these to read as dark, and I'm pretty sure that that's dark paint that's just kind of dried out and needs to be re-wetted. Now, I'm also pretty sure it's not quite dark enough. Okay, when I say dark enough, what do I mean? Well, I would like that value to be the same as that green value. And if you can see my circle on the screen there, right? You see the red on the bottom and the green on the top. It's hard to see there's a difference. Well, that's because they're the same value. I just messed that up. That's all right. We'll get back to it. Let's come back over here. All right. So by keeping these a similar or same value, what it means is it's less for the viewer to decode. And so you're taking the work off the viewer, right? You can only ask our viewers so much. And that's one of the reasons we want to leave it to 4 values, because our code gets a little complicated after 4 for most viewers. Right? Look how when I just even spread this value around, do you see how effective? Just instantly, boom, 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 because we know where it belongs. We know what it's supposed to do. It's in this family. It's this sort of thing. And I know that sounds weird at first. Like, what are you talking about? It's a grape. People are going to read, they don't read grapes, right? That's not what the eyes, the nerves in the eye, and then the translation in the brain does. Right? The nerves in the eye reads the appropriate lightness or darkness of this. And you know what Grandma said, right? Everybody knows what Grandma says. Grandma says, well, you got to get the nerves in the eye what they want. You got to give the nerves in the eye what they want. Oh, come on. No, I know. Grandma never really said that. Grandma never said that. But hey, it's a good device. There have been many stories told to Izzy that started off, well, you know what Grandpa says. Yeah, they're totally made up. But hey, it works. And yeah, she figured it out pretty early. She's like, Dad, you're just making stuff up. I was like, that's right. That's part of my job, is to sit around all day and make things up. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to practice a little on you with some story time. Okay, so when I do that, we still feel a bit scattered, don't we? A bit scattered. So just like we want to keep the values simple and not get too many of them, we also want to keep the shapes to where we're not asking them to do too much. Yeah, Ellie's doing great. Ellie's doing great in here. I was in art school for years, and I wasn't painting this well. Oof. Oof. I'm glad I was too ignorant to know better. Glad I was too ignorant to know better, huh? I would have quit if I used any logic. Well, you're not very good at this. All right, so let's leave that there, but we could think about grouping these, right? So just quickly, if we grouped them, how would that look? So to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see that these are green shapes here. And is there some way that I could tie those green shapes in, and instead of making it a bunch of green shapes or 3 green shapes, can I take those 3 and maybe knock them down to 2? And maybe even let them butt into the So when we do this, it's almost, now I'm no musician at all, but it's almost like, and I think this is natural for everybody, we want to hit the notes one at a time, right? But instead of seeing individual notes, we want to see if we can't organize these individual notes into a series of notes. Okay? So with the green here, that's what I'm doing, is rather than having a few individual, can I develop this into a larger series? Now, this up and down right here is not good, but I hope you just get the thing. And maybe there are two separate, but instead of being so far apart, maybe this is just a little bit apart. And then maybe there's a quiet one over here, but instead of one, maybe there's, oops, I went from red to green, from green to red. Maybe there's a couple of them. Right? And what if with these dark grapes, instead of a bunch of individual grapes, maybe we had a big group of them, right? A big bunch all bunched in together, and then maybe we saw one or two out of them, right? Even here, and even if they were separate, how might we tie them together? Well, let's see, let's get something a little darker that you guys can see here. Let's do the shadow part of the stem. Well, what if there was a stem that they belonged to? Right, you see, and then with the stem here, or however we were going to do it, doing it here on the fly, we could tie all that in together and maybe even have the green run through there. So something to that effect, okay, and that immediately will strengthen. And then I'm just going to show on the table here, my goal for the table on this one, and like this looks really good right here. You see it's relatively dark and there's no white in it. And I'm reading this as white, but again, it may just be, it simply may be the paint is dried out. We might have a few, some variety, but keep it a little darker up front, and maybe even let these grapes and stuff be kind of quiet there. Something like that. And then again, you've got the same thing on the top. And this may be a medium thing we need to talk about, I don't know. But don't be too frustrated on this, okay? Because you're doing great. It can be very frustrating when you think you're doing the right thing, but it doesn't look right at all. Welcome to oil painting. Welcome to oil paint. So, but the good news is, if conceptually you're doing the right thing and you're mixing the right kind of paint, right? The good news is it's just something mechanical. It's just something mechanical, right? So if I start, and so the light that starts over here is maybe just a simply highlight on that grape, right? And again, like back here, I imagine this is a lot darker than showing up on film. But what has happened here? What has happened? It's a question of intensity. Right? So what I'm doing is I'm letting there be less and less light and color on here and making sure it's definite that they're less, but that it's more. Where do we go from here? Well, we do what we call bridging, right? Bridging. Am I taking too much time? How are we doing? All right, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Right? And then maybe that background doesn't end up being quite that. Oops, what happened there? What happened there? Right, if I wanted green on green, it would be a green gray like that. Now again, there's a mood to it. There's a mood to it. And then I would want enough of this on my shadow side so that I can get a hard edge where this shadow ends on this pear. You don't necessarily need it everywhere, but give us some good hard edges here and there, and that'll come right up. And let's go to the shadow and go ahead and say, I have no light. I'm just kind of dark. I need some black combat boots, some dark eye makeup. I'm gonna be goth. And the mom's like, okay, sweetie, well, can I cook you some cookies or something? Mom, you don't get it. Right? Our shadows are dark. They're lacking light. The shadows are literally the absence of light. And so one way to think about that is that shadow is absolute. Right? And that'll help light all that up. Anywho, I hope that helps Ellie on some ideas of design and stuff. It would be worth it. It might be hard to even forget kind of finishing the painting and play with connecting some of those grapes up, right? And when you're doing it, try to start by not even thinking grape shapes, but thinking what would be a good dark shape. And making that good dark shape first, and then taking it and bending it into a couple of grapes. All right. Good job. Good job. Let's see what's going on. Lots of compliments for Ellie. Sorry, trying to read and do everything at one time. Lovely. Yeah. This is such a key, the sincerity. Right? Really the amount of art is, and it can be hard, we don't have a lot of time, but if you'll sincerely sit down and spend 15 minutes on trying to figure out that dark shape of the grapes, rather than trying to take something pretty, man, that'll pay off. That'll pay off. Good job. Ellie is doing great. We love having her here. A little youth in there to shake things up. I know my youth keeps me on my toes. Okay. So we're going to move right along here. And we got Shakti, and then we'll finish up with Sue. So I'm not going to rush here. So I'm going to try to spend about 10 minutes with Shakti. And so we'll be going a little bit over. So Sue will just know that she's at about the hour mark. She had to rest a little bit this morning, but said she's looking forward to seeing to it. And again, I know this was a problem with the camera on this one. I hear you. But, you know, just because I know, it still helps me to hear you say, oh, it's not that dark, it's the glare. Because part of it is just awareness, realizing that there's glare on the canvas. And slowly we'll get that back. Now, this may be black. I don't know if I'll get this right, but this is going to look better just by getting the value of that glare off. And yeah, I'm a clod. This is a little heavy-handed. I can even see through the glare that she's got a lot more subtlety there than I did. But just to have a look at this, let's just take that off. And so I hope this is also a big example of how important it is to get the white off your canvas. Because you literally, it's hard to see what's actually happening until you get the white off. Okay, so as we start going into these transitions, I almost hesitate to say this, Because it's like, I can only do one thing at a time. What do you want me to do? Ah! A nervous breakdown is coming. At least when I was learning it, that's how I was doing. And again, once the glare's not on there, I don't know if this is the case. But let's just look at what we're seeing right now in front of everybody. Right? In other words, what's on the screen. The photograph. And do you see this sense of light? It's what we're going to realize is there's abstract shapes, and man, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. So we got to be a little careful with that. Now the good news is the answer is very simple. And that answer is kind of, instead of having this sharp end, and I see you loosened it up there, but you can see overall is basically to blunt that. And the problem is if we blunt it right here on the end, our shape then becomes an L. So sometimes to blunt it, what if we blunt it right before the end? Does that make sense? So in other words, I'm just going to do it with what's right here. If this light spread up like that. Now again, I know you have some things going on, so you may have this. And the same over here, what right behind that statue, instead of just ending right there, what if there was just a little bit more? Maybe not that light. Can you guys see the... Look at that difference. Okay, and I'm showing you this because without knowing that underlying abstract forces, even if you get the values right, but the shape is so off, it won't feel right. But if you got everything generally right, I hate to say this, but you don't have to have the kind of accuracy that you're thinking, right? Accuracy becomes something a little bit different, and we're judging accuracy off of the feeling rather than the drawing or the color or the value even, right? But we shift the color, we shift the value, we shift the shape to manage the feeling that we're getting. I hope that makes sense, because really until you understand the purpose and how each of these components are used and how to properly read them, it's a struggle. Now that struggle isn't for naught, because it takes some time, it takes some experience to even know how to mess with values. So if you do nothing and you get everything wrong, but you're simply aware as you're playing with paint, even for years and years at a time, things are seeping in. And so when it does make sense, when you do it in order, you're going to be able to do it a lot quicker. Okay. Yeah, the difference makes a huge incur. Yes. And that's... It's so hard to teach, because as a student, especially good students, they want to master each step. And I know I tried that, and it slowed my progress to just a crawl. Just a crawl. Because you can't master value without considering edge, without considering shape, without considering the orchestration of your value, shape, edges. So, and I know Shakti's working really hard on this, and she's got the kind of vision where she sees this, and for each of you, I try to teach everybody, but I'm also trying to teach the particular student's language. Sometimes I'm more successful than others, but if we can all understand that it's really these underlying. So let's go back, let's include this, and then let's do this one more time. And boy, can this be hard sometimes. Well, why is it hard? Well, because Jason's absolutely right. And that makes a huge difference. And then you go back to the canvas and you're like, but how do I do it? That doesn't escape me. But sometimes we just have to sit with it. So we kind of got that shape down here going. Now I know it's the fence builder in us. That fence builder graduated fence building school and now he's doing buildings and he's doing shapes. But boy, does he still like these straight, square 90 degrees. Ooh, can I have a hard line? Right? Now those things have their place, but what we find out is, can we get these shapes inside of the action? Can we get these sharp corners, these very abrupt things, away from these edges and into the heart of the matter? Why? Well, they're so powerful that they demand attention. So that means that we have to reserve that for the stage, for when the performers are on the stage, for the show. And if I was a student and I was watching myself paint, let me tell you what I was thinking, and I'll be honest with you. This guy's such a moron. Every time he goes in and he takes these corners out, and he does the same damn thing. He's not even trying. He's got some formula in his head that he's working by. Well, that's true in an extent, but it's not a formula, it's a principle. It's a principle that I know that I don't want you focused really strong on the edge of the painting, because that's not good. I also know that I want you getting inside whatever my meat and potatoes are. And I also know that my meat and potatoes need to be somewhere inside off the edge of the canvas. Now that does not mean that I may not want a little entry somewhere. But even this entry's got to be much less than what's ever happening in the ball game, in the show. So, I just gave you guys a huge hint right there. I don't care what you're painting, when you're painting it, who it's here, what it's for. You got to take this crap out. This has got to come out in order for whatever you're putting here, a dog portrait, a flower, a vase, a pear, the President of the United States, right? Whatever. In order for there to be a little intensity, you can't focus everywhere. This is the most natural place to start to take the focus away. Okay, so that's one end of the stick. The other end of the stick, I know I'm at an hour. Give me a minute and a half and we're done with this one, okay? The other end of the stick. Well, then I need to make sure to come in here and have some definite. How about on that stem, a definite? Why? Because definite is a thing in painting. And as a painter, you have to be able to differentiate and execute. Take away. Look here, look here, look here, look here. And by the way, whenever somebody says you don't have the painter's vision, you're not looking through the painter's eye, you're not seeing it as a painter, it means that you're understanding you're working on a flat two-dimensional surface. And no matter how well you do the details, if you make them look... Stop. If you make them look at every square inch of every square inch of every square inch, every square inch, every square inch, every square inch, you are guaranteed not to have intensity. So what if somebody was describing a really, really steamy sex scene? She walked into the room. It was hardwood floors. She went over to the light of the window with the moonlight shining in, and her hair glistened in. It's like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what you're describing, you're killing the mood. This is the same thing. So realizing what's effective and what's not effective, where you need strength and where you need mystery. Now we're getting into the painter's eyes. All right, so that was a little woo-woo theoretical and off, but I hope that gave you something to work on. And again, it might not give you anything specific, but these ideas and letting these ideas cement and then trying to work to execute those ideas in paint. That's where learning happens. That's where growth happens. The learning and the growth doesn't come from me giving you answers. The learning and the growth comes from me challenging your ideas that you're basing your paintings on and convincing you that there's better painting ideas. And the only way to have a better painting is to have a better painting idea. Don't be bringing fashion ideas to painting, or architectural ideas to painting, or even poet. Paint only responds to painting ideas. And what that means, it means an idea in terms of paint. It can be poetic, it can be architectural, it can be all of those things, but you have to approach it in terms of the paint. Sue, oh my God, what is this? Everybody's doing this amazing work. Amazing work. Sue, this is, again, light years for you. Kudos, 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 kudos. Brilliant. The values, the colors, the grayness, where you're looking, where you're not looking. So good, my friend. So good. I hope you feel better. I know you just didn't quite feel good this morning, but I hope you feel better, and when you get to this part of the thing, man, I hope I see a beautiful smile on your face. Kudos, kudos, kudos. So what if we simply took that last idea, and maybe the idea that we used on Ellie's paintings of those darks, and see what we could do with this? So the how do I do? right? And that's what everybody wants to know. But the part that you have to realize is you can never answer the how do I do without the what are you trying to do. And the what are you trying to do should ultimately be there's a feeling I'm going for. But till we get to that, we're always going towards beauty. So is it visible? Is this, yes, this is visible, right? This is brilliantly visible. And that's part of the huge success on here, because Sue's had other visible thing, but it's the intensity of the visibility here. It's the intensity of the visibility. And then after visibility, we want that third dimension. Does she have the third dimension? Yes, yes, and yes. How does she have the third dimension? Well, this is close. This is further back. This is further back. This is further back. And that's further back. She also has the third dimension by the stronger colors, the darker values, the stronger color, the lightest light, and then not so strong, not so light, not so colorful. So lots of good things you're just drilling home, my friend. Good, 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 good. So you might want to pause this and go celebrate, right? 3 or 4 bottles of wine. Do what you want, right? A week. Go for a week celebration. Because yeehaw. Okay? Yes, 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 yes. But how could we push this forward? Okay? And I don't know for sure, but I can almost guess. Sue, that some of this came from trying to light up, get a sense of light. Because we've been talking about how a sense of light comes from the hard edges. And we hadn't talked about this yet, so I'm asking something I hadn't covered when she did this. Let's keep those hard edges in the center. And then maybe towards the outside, right? We talked about that. Maybe these outside things can just be a little softer edge. And speaking of, I know you were doing the tap, but what would happen if we just took this out, right? And just let what's happening with the figures, we could even lower this. So let's take that bit out, maybe that hard edge out. And I want to do this because sometimes it's hard to convince ourselves that we need so little, right? That, oh no, I've got to do more than that. But look, even with that, that's enough. And it's like, oh my God, I've got so little yet there. And here comes Grumpy Jason. Yeah, but take some more off. Right? It's amazing how little do we need. And the same thing, oops, what happened? Go forward. There we go. Back here, let's just take some of this top out. And again, I'm being a little bit of a clod here. Don't be a clod, because your paint handling and all of that, Sue, is fantastic here. And that's one of the reasons the background looks so good. So you've got you just got yes, yes, yes going left and right here, my friend. Yes, yes, yes. And then in that same spirit, there was some hard edge, and I know there's some glare over here too. What if we even took more out here? So like when we're on this side of the canvas, we're just on the tabletop, not in the background at all. So we let all that action on that tabletop happen, right? And the background be relatively quiet. And then when we get to the other side of the pear, oops, so that's a slightly dark. We'll fix it then. Okay. Too bright. Too blue. There we go. Right, so just take that table and even the bottom of all of this out like I was saying. Okay, and then for your thing here, I would even take that out. And what that gives us then, and I believe if I remember right, Sue, this is what you said in the email that you were going after. Sometimes I get this wrong, but look at that beautiful movement you have there. We talked about it. And right, we do come over here with these lights and stuff. So maybe take that out. Right? Oh, better than take that out, Sue. Look, and this is where it gets fun. It's for me anyway. I don't know how you guys have your fun, but this is how I have my fun. Is if I take that out, and the other thing is if I could somehow make the table and everything here less, right? Because why would I want to do that? Because I want to make sure that they go around, right? We don't want them just tromping through here like an army, trampling acres and acres and acres. We want to go, whee! Right? So send us around. So fantastic, my friend, fantastic. And I hope this helps a little bit, but just keep it up, keep it up, keep it up, and keep it up. Yes. Let's see some before and after. Oh, did I not layer? I didn't layer up. Bad, Jason. Oh well. Or maybe I did layer up. I don't know. But it seems so subtle, but it makes such a huge impact. Such a big difference. Okay, so we're 9:15, 15 over, but that's all right. That's all right today. I think this was a great class. Hope I didn't keep anybody too long. All right, let's see. I love it, right? The pomegranate. The pomegranate. Sue's great job. I love all this. This is the class we want, yeah? Encouraging. All right, definitely feel better, Sue. So she seems she was just a little bit off today. It wasn't a big deal from what she thought. So we hope to hear from you soon, my friend Sue. You guys, thank you. You did a great job. Today is, what is today? Today is Wednesday. So we're going to have some Masterworks tonight, and then tomorrow morning we'll be back for some more Monday morning jump start. So if you're in the class, get your images in. And if not, and you want to be, good news is we got a brand new class starting on Monday. So we're going to end the broadcast with the website, and that's where you can get all the information on our new school, on classes, or anything else. Still confused? Send us an email through the website or leave a comment and we will get back to you. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.